Alright, let's get us started with our final and most fun video of the series, which is going to be metal calligraphy pins. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of a drawing for you all on what a metal calligraphy nib looks like, because I know it's a little bit hard to see actually on the camera. So we're going to draw this over my corner here. So here is what this looks like in person. It's going to be a little bit of a rough drawing, but bear with me. Alright, so here's the body of the calligraphy pen. I know it looks a little funny. And here is one of the most important parts. This is what this tiny little metal piece looks like. So we're going to do a little bit of a chart to explain what some of the points are. So up here at the very, very top, we have the point of the pen. In between this, there are these little lines here that hold ink. So these bad boys are called the tines. It is also another name for either side of this, but specifically the things that hold the ink. This point in the middle where the metal parts split apart is called the slit. The outside edge of this here is called the shoulder. And here, this hole in the middle is called the vent hole. You also get the body of the pen and the base, which is the part that goes into the nib holder here. So that, it's a little bit difficult to get out sometimes, is the part that goes inside. Alright, so now that we know the little parts of the pen, we can talk about putting ink into it. There are a variety of different ways. My preferred way is usually to take a brush, like one for watercolor or acrylic paint, something like this, and to dip it in the ink and then gently put it on the back side of my pen. The pen itself looks kind of like a little boat, so you have strong sides on either part of it, and then it fades out, tapers out to the top of the pen, the point. And so I'll put some ink on the point of the pen going up to the vent hole, but not covering the vent hole itself. That is to make sure that you still have plenty of room and air to get through the ink and let it flow smoothly. So I usually use this. My preferred ink to put into the pen is actually watercolors, just mixed with some water. It's going to be a little bit more colorful. You can choose a lot of colors without having to pay a lot of money. And it's also a good method if you want to start out and not commit to something that costs a lot. Today, we are going to be using ink, a regular calligraphy ink, because I recently bought a new one and I really want to try it out. So here's my calligraphy ink. It is one by Herbin. It is a olive color. This one is made in France, and it is actually made for these metal nibs. Another one that's really cool that I have with me today is Golden Sands. It is one by Diamine Inks. This one actually has a shimmer characteristic to it. So if I paint with this, let me shake it up a little, you can kind of see the ink swirling around, but it is very pigmented. I haven't tried this one yet, and I probably won't do this one today, because generally when you use inks that have a glitter or a shimmer in them, you have to make sure you clean your pen a lot in between. That way it doesn't dry on there. So we're going to be using this little green ink, trying it out for the first time. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm actually just going to dip my pen directly in here. I could use the paintbrush method as well for this if I wanted to, but this is a slightly more efficient way for this video purpose. So I'm going to coat the back of my pen in this ink going up to the vent hole, and this is going to be rather small. So we are going to start here, and we are going to write the word forest just because it is the feeling that I'm getting. So when I press down, this is a flexible nib. So it is going to allow the ink to flow through more when I press down a little bit. And this is a common problem for a lot of calligraphers. This is a thing we call railroading, which is happening to me right now. It means I don't have enough ink on my pen. But what railroading really is when you start a line and because of the tines splitting apart, not enough ink, your word is going to look like this. You're going to have these little lovely lines that look like railroad tracks instead of a cohesive line of calligraphy. Alright, and there's my forest. It's really small. I'm not using a nib that allows me to write extremely large at this moment. And I will note, if you are looking up close, you can see a little bit of this bleeding that is going on. When you are writing with a traditional ink, you do have to be wary of what kind of paper you use. I would generally suggest using watercolor paper. There is calligrapher paper as well out there, stuff that people use specifically for calligraphy, but watercolor paper is by far the most affordable and common to find, and it will hold the ink really well, so there will be little to no bleeding in this. This is very thin. It is not watercolor paper, but if you did that, the ink would settle in nicely and not leave these little blurry edges that show that it's bleeding a little bit. And also maybe the ink that I'm using, because sometimes this isn't a problem. But that is one of the bright sides of using a brush pen. You will never get bleeding of your ink. However, it's not quite as fun as this. So if you're looking to try to learn a new skill, this is one of the things that I really highly recommend. You can buy calligraphy pens, both the brush pen type and the official metal type, online. You can buy them in person. One of my favorite places to shop for calligraphy stuff is Lawrence's Wonder Fair. They have curated calligraphy stuff mainly from Japan, which, like I said earlier, is a really good place for calligraphy supplies. And they also have a lot of really knowledgeable people working there who know their stuff and will make sure to give you good recommendations. This gold ink that I got was actually one of their recommendations because my previously used gold ink has dried up to the point where I can't open the bottle anymore. And there are a couple of options if you want to use it with a brush. This one works and a lot of others work, but if you need it for a fountain pen, certain inks will destroy your fountain pen and make it rust because of the metal and the components in the ink itself. So it is something that you want to be careful of, and the lovely people at Wonder Fair are really good at giving their advice and very knowledgeable folks. So if you're looking to start out, you can start there. You can start at a Michaels. You can start with Amazon calligraphy products, or you can just start with a pencil or a Crayola marker that is already in your house. So I hope you guys try it, and if you do, I would love to see what you create.